Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Hang on. Of course! There we go. There's the roll, Julia. For Bison, it was a Tuesday.
It was Tuesday. Never seen the movie, but, you know that scene.
It's worth watching once and then never watching again. Alright, let the up to grades. The novelized version of the movie of the game. Dude, can we get a novelized version of Jurassic Park on the Super Nintendo? Man, I loved that game. And then a Tyrannosaurus... No, not a Tyrannosaurus. Where was... Then a Triceratops came from the top of the screen. And Grant ran south as quickly as he could.
You're talking about the SNES one?
Yeah.
I didn't really care for that one because kind of like you were saying about Metroid Prime, fairly early on, I was like, okay, I can't go up, I can't go down, I don't know where to go. I felt like I didn't know what to do. So
yeah, it was hard.
And everywhere I went, something ate me. So
yeah,
that's I'm not. This is not a positive thing. I didn't know how to advance the game.
And everyone loved the Genesis version because, oh, you could play as a raptor, except it sucked. Like, the graphics are really cool, but the control playing as either Grant or the raptor just wasn't good. But it was pretty. Everyone was like, the Genesis version is better. And I'm like, the Genesis version is dildos. This game is better as a game.
Have you seen Pro Jared's latest series where he's playing through the randomized
Zelda 2?
Yeah. Zelda 2. And he even starts out like, this is going to be fun, it's going to be great. And he walks out the front door of the palace.
He's like, what?
The overworld is randomized.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, dude, it's freaky.
He has lost his mind a couple times now.
Oh, good. Number 3 went up today. I'll watch that tonight when we're done. Anyway, let's... Enough old games cast. Let's start the show. Ow, jam. Hello again and welcome back. No, that's Monday Night Magic. Oh my god. Let me try this again. Ow, jam. Hello everyone and welcome to... No, that's also Monday. What am I doing?
We don't even know.
Okay, here we go. I got it this time. Ow, jam. Hello everyone and welcome to the Manapool. There we go. See, it only took 3 tries. Look, I'm full of food and stupid.
I know that feeling well.
Yeah, you do. This is the Manapool number 522, which is not a small number. And
nope.
Someone in the chat just said the funny thing is I don't even hear the difference. That's because I stop myself before it gets to the difference because I know that I'm barreling down a fun-filled episode of Monday. No, wrong show. I've learned that the future, how the future is gonna look, so I stop. You see, I'm a prophet. Yeah.
You make lots of money?
No, not that kind of profit. Definitely not that kind of profit. So, yes, hello, I am Chewy. I'm bad at this game, and I am the lead dork for whatever that's worth. And with me, as always, are these other dorks who are probably better at this than I am.
Hey, I'm Brian. I'm the lead rambler, tangent master of the group, and there is a decent chance that I am, in fact, not better at this than Chewy.
I'm Mike. I'm the rules guy and the game lore guy, and I might be in the top 5 of worse than this than Chewy, but I don't know.
If Clues was here, he'd go, top 5 worse than this than Chewy.
Everybody loves top 5 lists.
And I'm Dirk, the self-proclaimed greenest man alive and moral compass of the group. And I make attempts at being better at this game, but you can ask my wife. I fail epically every time. She is
Oh.
nodding her head at me. Not even joking.
That does not surprise me. So, this week, what is this? 522. It's right there on the screen. I don't know why I can't see that. This week, as we hinted at last week, we will be turning things over to our own beloved, let's say, Professor Beard.
Betolerated.
Our own betolerated Professor
Behumored.
Beard. Oh, wait a minute.
What?
I wonder. What's the name of the hat that professors wear?
A hat.
Studebaker?
A Studebaker. Yeah, that's the one.
I don't know.
Remind me to have Brian killed.
Set alert. Have Chewie kill. Wait. No, I don't think I will. No, I don't know the hat you're referring to.
Aha, here we go. So wait, what if I
Beret.
save to here? Hang on. We're doing this.
Raspberry beret.
We're doing it live. Okay, then we go over here and we do this.
Making new thumbnail assets.
No, I'm making new Twitch assets.
Oh,
This will
okay.
be Prof Beard hat. Is it bad that I already don't remember where I saved the damn thing? That's probably not good. Did I save it here? Boom. Okay. Oh, that's big. Wait, hang on.
That's what she. No, never mind.
Giggity.
Never mind.
Whoop. People get to watch me work live here. This is crazy. Or listen to me work live if you're listening to the show. How does... Oh god, that's awful. Okay, wait. We need to flip horizontal. Okay, there we go. Put that on Mike's head. Boom! There we go. Look at that. Isn't that sick? That's really terrible, but I'm going to leave it there.
Oh, that thing. The graduation cap gown thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
mortarboard.
that's just...
Yeah, mortarboard. Pretty sure
Mortarboard.
most professors don't just wear it on a day-to-day basis. If your professor does, you might want to change classes, because I have a feeling that guy's a pompous jerk.
Like a pomp and circumstances jerk? Okay, wait. Now I'm going to go edit.
Ah.
Add an image. The Professor Beard hat. Boom. Oh, God, it's still huge. Oh, God. Wait a minute. Hang on. This is why you watch live on stream, is so you can see this nonsense. Flip
So you know to fast forward through this part when you're listening.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. I don't think I can make this work on our second screen here. There, they'll just have to use their imagination, sort of. Boom, okay. Anyway, so, Professor Beard.
Imagine this was done correctly.
don't know if I
Pretend if
can.
you will.
Let us journey for a moment, you and I.
Right. So we got a good response to our episode about the graveyard, and it wasn't too long after that we got a request in our email. Feel free to send us emails. We read them all. We are horrendous about responding to
Just
any of them.
God awful.
It's
Since Mike did forward me that one email for
it's not that we
Magnolia
don't
Crystal.
respond to you because we don't like you or we're not interested. It's because we're just horrific failures.
Yeah, we're actually the worst.
And we are ashamed of it. Anyway, so we got a request in our email to look at Exile as well, and how that's been used over the years and how its use has developed over the years. And the screensaver came on and I can't see my notes. Dang it.
That was a really weird request.
It was oddly specific, but I'm glad they went through the time. So that's the plan for today, and we're going to have the same basic structure. But the general flow of the conversation won't be quite the same because there just aren't as many sets in the game that did a lot to that did a whole lot to innovate with the Exile zone, and there's only one set that I would say where the use of the Exile zone was actually a theme, and we'll get to that much later. But it's still a very interesting topic. Do any of you guys have questions or comments before I just start yammering on about all the various notes I took?
I will have questions and comments as we continue, but really, I you know, let's get you started first.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So what we understand now is the Exile zone didn't always exist in the game. There was a concept of cards being removed from play or removed from the game. You know, cards would just say remove such and such from the game entirely, but that wasn't really a zone. The earliest versions of the rules only described the library, the hand, the graveyard, and they used the word territory to describe the battlefield, the in-play zone for each person on both sides.
Huh.
And they didn't, and the word zone didn't start showing up in the little rule books or the rules inserts until much, much later. So I don't know when the comprehensive rules as we know them today started to exist, and I don't have any access to what older versions of that looked like, but I do still have a bunch of old rule books and rules inserts, almost all of them up until around Odyssey or so. So that helped me make some references to exactly what was going on.
That actually doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
I think I still have the little rules booklets from like 4th and Ice Age and Mirage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Because they only came in the starter decks. So only the big sets, in quotes, had them.
Yeah, and sometimes the little booklets that would come in pre-constructed decks that would give you hints and tips for each one of them also had comments about new rules that were introduced during that set.
Right.
But not all of them.
But
that did stop after a
by
while.
the time those came out, that was right about the time I stopped playing, because the first precons were don't tell me. It was either Weatherlight or the set right after it.
I think it was Tempest. I don't know of any for Weatherlight.
Right. It was yes, you are correct. Because I was still buying Inquest occasionally, and I saw ads for them and mentions of them, but yeah. Okay, sorry, just interjecting what little bit of history I have.
No, that's fine. So yeah, there were only those zones, library, hand, graveyard, and territory, that the rules described. Like there wasn't any stack, there wasn't any exile zone, there wasn't a command zone, blah, blah, blah. And another thing I found when I was looking through the different sets is that there are lots of effects, and it's probably all of them, that make, basically temporary tokens that only stick around for a certain amount of time. And they all exile those tokens when it's time for them to go away, instead of making you sacrifice them or something. And that was just interesting to see, because I'd never thought about it before. And it's probably to just avoid being able to add a bunch of easy death triggers whenever you want. That's probably the main thing. Why they were designed that way.
Is this even like way back in the day?
Way back in the day, it was probably done to reduce confusion about what happened to the tokens.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah. But after that, it was probably just to keep that same templating, so you wouldn't have a bunch of cards that did similar things but worked differently, and also to prevent a bunch of easy death triggers. All right. So like we said at the very beginning, Alpha Beta Unlimited, Exile wasn't a zone, and you were just told by certain effects to remove something from the game entirely. And at first, it was just Disintegrate and Swords to Plowshares. Those were the only ones.
The only two.
Yep, it was just the two of them in Alpha Beta Unlimited. And basically what they're telling you is you know, for disintegrate, it's killing the creature super duper dead.
Yeah.
You know, part of disintegrate's effect is that the creature can't be regenerated either. You know, it's so dead it's impossible to put it back together or reanimate it. And Swords to Plowshares, the concept there is that the creature just gives up on combat entirely and just goes to live on a farm somewhere.
Yeah.
Super dead, super gone.
Isn't that a
Arabian-
reference to a Bible passage?
It is.
And they shall beat their swords into plowshares.
Yeah, they'll beat their swords to plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks, and they'll no longer train for war. That last part is translated a little differently sometimes, depending on what you're reading. But yes, so that's part of the reason. That's why I got Jeff Menges when he signed my Alpha Swords to Plowshares to also write over the name of the card with spears into pruning hooks.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah. So in the first expansion of the game, Arabian Nights, we already get some innovation here. Oubliette, depends on who you ask.
Yeah, that card.
Yeah, is a black enchantment, and it's the first Oblivion Ring Banishing Light type effect. It uses being removed from the game as kind of a holding area. The printed text of the card says, you know, target creature is considered out of play for as long as you control Oubliette. So that's a neat little twist. And another innovation is Ring of Maruf. As part of its activation cost, you pay some mana and you exile Ring of Maruf to go get something outside the game and bring it in. There, exiling the card is used as kind of a balancing factor for the cost, just to make it more of a serious cost and to make it a one-time use card. Because there's still, and there's going to be for a long time, no way to interact with cards that have been removed from play or put into exile, you know, unless a single card is like putting something there and bringing it back. That's it.
Wow. So
yeah.
the Ring of Maruf is so powerful that they really don't want you to use it more than once.
Right.
So you just get rid of it entirely.
Right.
Which was the thought back then.
Mm-hmm.
And Oubliette is just crazy. For back then. It's completely insane. Yeah. Nowadays, it's a normal white common, for God's sake. It's in every set. But back then, that's... I don't even know this card, probably because I don't play Pauper.
Mm-hmm.
I know Pauper players love this card.
Yeah, and when I was first learning to play, even though that was a long time ago, you know, the people I played with, still, Arabian Nights was far enough in the past, and we were all kids, and we were broke enough that none of us had this card. So I didn't hear about it until much later.
That's really cool that the very first expansion... It's just like in Graveyards. Like,
yeah.
We talked about this with Alpha. There were just lots of different flavory and mechanical things in Alpha, and things popped up relatively quickly with the Graveyard. I had no idea. Like, I figured you'd go for all kinds of sets before you got to anything.
That's what I thought too. But lo and behold, Arabian Nights is like, yo.
Huh. Oh, there's different arts too. Or not. It won't show me different arts.
Different arts for Arabian Nights Oubliette?
Yeah.
It might be trying to show you the different versions where one of them has the dark generic mana circle and the other one has the light generic mana circle.
Ah.
But it's not displaying properly.
It is definitely not displaying properly, so yeah. So it's just the one art then?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Arabian Nights had printing variants where the generic mana circle was dark, and on some cards it was really hard to see.
Oh, someone pointed out Scryfall. Okay, hang on. Let me go to Scryfall. Oubliette. Arabian Nights 31A. Arabian Nights 31B. Yep, that is exactly it. Nice. I don't like Scryfall for this, though. It's off-center and whatnot. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You hear Oubliette, you think of Labyrinth, right? That was the first thing that popped into my mind.
Yeah.
Labyrinth, the movie, you know, where
Right.
I don't remember the wording. I just remember hearing it in that movie. I don't remember what it was about at all.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Oh well. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
Antiquities expands on some of the things that we saw in Alpha Beta Unlimited and Arabian Nights, adding a few more cards that demonstrate that are using exiling or removing from the game entirely to show something being either super dead or to demonstrate some kind of a holding area, temporary holding area for a card, or to give you a one-time use card, something that they didn't want you being able to do over and over again. Like Felden's Cane is a good example. They didn't want you to be able to recycle your deck forever. So part of activating Felden's Cane involves removing it from the game.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they knew that Magic players would do that crap like they did with Elixir of Immortality.
And then they forgot, apparently.
And then they forgot. I also used to love Felden's Cane. This was one of those cards that I just put in every deck all the time.
Mm-hmm.
When back in the day when I was a young Magic player.
Yeah, because who doesn't love getting cards back? It's amazing.
All of them, even.
I like cards. I prefer to have them back than have them just be gone forever. Generally speaking.
Yeah. It seems like a
Yeah.
very Dirk card. You guys have noticed, I'm sure, that Dirk hates it when he loses resources of any sort.
Well, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dark is invested in his board position. I will say he takes sweepers fairly well. He's usually like, okay. And then he like redeploys his hand. So
Yeah. But if you like take away cards in his hand, if you make him discard, he gets angry. And if you like mill some of his cards, he's like, and
Because he didn't get to play them.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And Felden's
spent-
Cane.
Quality time building this deck. You better not take them away before I get a chance to play them.
And I think that's the mentality that we all had back in the day. Is I put these cards here so I could play them, and then I played them, and now I can't play them anymore because they're in the graveyard. But wait, and I think they realized that Magic players would do that, and that's why you can only use it once.
Yes.
Nice.
All right. So revised was just a bunch of reprints. Legends introduced the first single-use creature. Before the, exile this after you use it only appeared on some artifacts and maybe a spell. I don't remember. Maybe. But Cyclopean Mummy, when it dies, you exile it. Something about the Mummy. A 2/1 for 1 and a black. Just, nope. Shouldn't be able to reanimate that for whatever reason.
Well, because it's already dead. You see,
Oh, I see.
it's already been wrapped up and everything. If you unwrap it, like okay.
It just
Those
goes
of
poof,
you-
turns into dust.
Yeah, those of you who were with me while I was streaming DuckTales Remastered, or those of you who played the original, what happens when you pogo on the mummy ducks? They spin, and then a naked duck flies out off screen. See, because the mummy, it's the wrapping. See, if you unwrap it, it's useless.
It's not a mummy
It's
anymore.
just a
Okay.
naked duck.
Right.
This is a thing that happened with several random, like, lame black cards back in the day, didn't it? Or did I just get a lot of Cyclopean mummies?
You probably just got a lot of Cyclopean Mummies because they were also in Chronicles, I'm pretty sure, and they probably showed up in at least one core set. Gatherer, Cyclopean Mummy.
It's 4th.
Okay.
And Chronicles and 4th were 2 sets I got a lot of, so yeah.
Okay. There's a couple more single-use spells and effects. All
Wait.
Hallows Eve.
They
Huh?
weren't in Chronicles.
Cyclopean Mummy wasn't in Chronicles?
At least not according to the Gatherer.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
I guess it's 4th edition. I just got a gazillion of them then.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Okay, I just assumed it was in Chronicles because it seems like the kind of card that would be.
So did I.
All Hallows Eve was retconned later to hang out in exile for a couple turns before it finally cast itself, kind of using, suspend technology.
Yeah.
But before it just kind of sat out there. Like,
Yeah, All Hallows Eve is that sorcery that you cast that stays there. Wait. Oh, I'm in Masters. I was like, I clicked over to printed and nothing changed. That's because I'm on Masters Edition. Here we go. Oh, time for takeoff. Put
Yeah,
2 counters on this card. Remove a counter during your upkeep. When you remove the last counter from All Hallows Eve, all players take all creatures from their graveyards and put them directly into play. Treat these creatures as though they were just summoned. You choose what order they come into play.
that's a sorcery. It just, yeah.
Yeah, that sits there for 2 turns. What?
I think for a while it was eroded to be an enchantment. I don't know if that's right, and I don't know how long that lasted. If it's true.
That sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm. Legends was also the first example of cards where you're temporarily storing cards on another card. It was Knowledge Vault. Knowledge Vault lets you has an activated ability that lets you take a card from the top of your library and place it face down under Knowledge Vault. And then later you can activate another ability to get them into your hand.
Oh, and that eventually became Exile. Got it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that is weird. Things that went, under Knowledge Vault, for instance, were just there.
Yeah, they're not in play, and they're definitely not in your library anymore. So they're just set aside. The game had a concept of removing something from play and the concept of setting something aside.
Huh.
That later on they used the remove from the game zone, and then the later renamed Exile zone to handle. Yeah, Knowledge Vault was the first example of that.
Trippy.
Mm-hmm. So then we move to the dark, and we start to cross over with the graveyard episode. Oh. So in any set with a graveyard theme, there's going to be cards that use the graveyard as a resource, and that usually involves exiling cards from your graveyard to pay some cost.
Mm-hmm.
So that started in the dark. There are several cards that have you remove cards from your graveyard from the game to generate various types of effect or pay cost for something, or as part of what they do.
Pinball Witch just threw 25 bits and said, 25 bits into Exile.
Uh-oh.
I like it.
Thank you, Witch. Sorry, keep going.
So yeah, and you're just going to see that in every graveyard-centric set.
Mm-hmm.
So that starts to show up more often as the years go on.
Give me an example if you have them written down.
From here or from later?
Like from the dark.
Okay.
Grave Robbers was the first one that came to mind. For one black, it's a 1/1 human rogue. I guess now it's a human rogue. Before they were robbers. Pay a black tap, exile target artifact card from a graveyard, you gain 2 life.
Oh, I get it. They were robbing them from the graveyard, but because they stole them, you remove them from the game. Like, I'm trying to put myself back into the mindset of the game back then.
Yeah, the robbers took them away, and you got life for it.
Yeah, but you can't use them anymore because the robbers took them, so it's removed from the game.
Yeah, or like Eater of the Dead. You can exile a creature card from a graveyard to untap Eater of the Dead.
Right, that was the one I was thinking, but I couldn't remember what set that was from. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was from the dark.
Also, Violet Moon threw 45 bits under the Knowledge Vault. So, yeah, and you couldn't get your creature back because the Eater of the Dead, well, you know.
ate them. Yeah. I don't know that this needs a whole lot of thought. This is exactly what it does.
You know, it's in the
Truth
name.
in advertising. Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah. The Arc adds a couple more spells that use Exile as a way to show something is super dead. It also introduces having exiling as a cost, like not as in, exile this to activate the ability, but exile something else to do something. City of Shadows, the printed text is sacrifice one of your for the activated ability to put storage counters on it. The printed text is sacrifice one of your creatures, but remove it from the game instead of placing it in your graveyard to add a storage counter to it. But yeah, so here Exile is kind of being used as a I don't know, a super cost or whatever you want to call it, just a more serious cost for activating something, for using an ability.
Oh wow, City of Shadows doesn't lose the counters when you use them.
Right.
Ooh,
It's pretty neat.
nice.
Yeah, so here they found another knob that they could turn to balance effects by being able to use exiling things from the battlefield to pay costs for abilities.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, that's a lot of innovation just for the first couple sets.
Right.
Yeah, they had a lot of ideas.
Sick.
Which again, as Mike said, you tend to think of these sort of things being developed later, but yeah. Although it's still interesting that we're still seeing removed from the game as, almost not even really a zone in and of itself, So just it's gone, it's away. There's different ways to do it, but yeah.
Yeah.
We have yet to see anything come back from Exile, correct? Unless I missed something.
Unless you're talking about something like Oubliette or whatever.
Right.
Or in a couple sets, Icy Prison.
Ah! Sorry, reflex.
Let's see. Fallen Empires just had a couple cards and their effects that we've seen before. Fourth edition was all reprints, so there's some things in there.
Cyclopean Mummy.
Ice Age had a few more cards where you set a card aside and then do something with it later. Necropotence is a great example. You pay 1 life to set aside a card. Now it's to exile a card face down. And you get to put it in your hand later.
Pay 1 life to set aside the top card of your library. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pinwheel Witch asked about Safe Haven. Safe Haven was also in the dark. And that was another one of those using Exile as a temporary holding zone.
Oh, like Oubliette did.
Yes, like Oubliette did.
Okay.
Ice Age also used exiling cards as a drawback to balance other effects, like on Orcish Librarian and Demonic Consultation. Demonic Consultation being much more better and visible than Orcish Librarian.
Yeah, but I have to show Orcish Librarian because look at that art.
I know, right?
There is no art quite like Orcish Librarian.
He's a big fat Phil Foglio orc just munching on a book. I love it.
Is it dipping it in book paste?
Oh yeah, in library paste. Look at that. But you said demonic. Which one? Consultation.
Consultation.
Yeah, that's the more well known and important one.
Mm-hmm.
So many of these cards that we've talked about had like Masters Edition reprints on Magic Online.
I remember Demonic Consultation very well because I remember reading it for the first time and thinking this is just god awful because the way I read it, I'm going to read the Oracle text because it's a little easier. Choose a card name, exile the top 6 cards of your library, and reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a card with the chosen name. Put that card into your hand and exile all the cards revealed this way. That makes a lot of sense. Looking at the original text, it's really tiny on this screen. Name a card, remove the top 6 cards of your library from the game, and it's shifting because Chewie's moving the thing. I'm reading it off of the Twitch thing. So.
You can see it now. If you see over on the side where I clicked on printed, it's big now.
Okay. Name a card, remove the top 6 cards of your library from the game, and reveal the next card to all players. If it's the name card, put it into your hand. If not, remove that card from the game and continue revealing the top. Okay, somehow, some way, I misread this where I thought you had to keep removing the top 6 cards. And then if the next one wasn't the one that you named, you had to keep going. I'm like, wow.
Oh, I imagine there's something that says repeat this process, and your eyes shot back up to the very top of the card.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was just like, the odds of getting what you want feel super low. Oh.
And they would be if it worked like that.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Just had my own little story about it.
Yeah.
You have to be lucky enough to hit it on one of the 6th.
Yeah.
Yes.
The 7th, technically.
Which
is 7th.
Yeah. It'd probably be
another
more fair than some things they've made. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I was just moving on.
Yep.
You have another example of storing cards on other cards in Ice Cauldron.
Sorry.
Ice Cauldron is actually pretty easy to understand once you get it, but then also once you get it, you realize how clunky and not so great it is, and then you're like, oh, now I'm sad.
Yeah. Well, I have to keep scrolling to make sure it all goes on the screen. There we go. Look at that typeface. It's so tiny.
It is incredibly tiny.
Look at it.
But yeah, Ice Cauldron. It's weird. It freezes magic. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And like Mike said, it's really easy to understand once you understand it, but until then, it's a nightmare. But you're putting spells on and mana on layaway. Essentially. Right?
Yeah.
Do I know what this card does?
Yes, you do. You're saving the spell itself and some mana to use to help cast it later. You can pay for it in 2 stages, basically.
Yeah. Like, you're giving up. It's like so many Hearthstone cards. You're giving up tempo now for massive tempo later. Because you're paying a bunch of mana and losing a card now to not do anything, so that later you can do that and something else, which is nuts. Or do that but bigger. Or whatever. So, yeah. So in this case, remove from game is flavorfully your spell being frozen in the cauldron.
Right.
Until you thaw it out to use it. This is so stupid. Put a spell card. Wait, is it just instant or sorcery now?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh no, it's non-land card.
It's non-land
because
card.
everything
okay,
is
cool.
Yeah, the printed version.
Everything's a spell.
Well, yeah, but the printed version says spell card, so I was confused what they meant. But
I'm sure that's what it meant at the time. They just didn't write it in a clear way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
It's true. Yeah. Okay.
And then one of the marquee cards from Ice Age, Jester's Cap. You actually got to dig through your opponent's deck and remove some of their cards from the game.
This card was
my God.
insane. Like, this was always on top of Inquest's, like, most popular or biggest or baddest cards or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the first. Well, like, what do we call this now? The lobotomize
yeah.
effects.
Sort of. Lobotomize often nowadays just gets a specific card, but yeah, basically. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But this exiled them, meaning they literally can't have these anymore. Damn it.
Right. Yeah, and at this point, the rules are still reminding you that if any of your cards get removed from the game, remember to put them back in your deck after you're done.
Yeah, I see that here on the. Wait, no, the rules. Never mind.
Yeah, the rules.
This is reshuffle that library afterwards. My brain was like, remember to put these back in your deck after the game. Word.
Yeah. Let's see. Homelands had some stuff we've seen before, mainly taking cards out of graveyards.
Naturally.
Yeah. Alliances innovates by using exiling as a cost for casting spells. There's a cycle of pitch spells, exiling stuff from your hand to cast them for no mana. And there's also Elder Spirit Guide. You can exile from your hand to get a green mana. Just, woo, here's green mana. Thanks.
Yeah. So here's Force of Will, the most famous of the pitch spells, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then Elder Spirit Guide is, hell, that's famous in its own. Whoops, famous in its own right these days. Yeah.
There's also the card called Exile, which I'm sure was part of the inspiration for the name they chose for this zone later on.
Really?
Yeah, Exile.
Wait, this is from Vintage Master. Here we go. Oh yeah, with the art that's just nothing. It's like, here's a castle over there. Nice.
Yeah,
Like, is that where they're being exiled to?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll
Go
take
live in that. Go live in that castle. Never come back.
And never come back, you jerks.
Romeo is exiled. Sweet. Wasn't that the line from Romeo and Juliet? Is he's exiled? I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know.
That's something like that.
I was full of nonsense tonight. Have you noticed?
Not any more than usual. Ho!
I'll accept that.
We get another example of storing cards on other cards with Gusta's Scepter.
Oh God.
You can hold cards from your hand there just to keep them, to protect them from other things, because reasons.
Well, what if your opponent is playing Hymn to Turok, man?
Yeah, I know.
Because if they're playing Hymn to Turok, they're not playing Shatter, so you're good.
And Alliances also has a bunch of cards where you exile one or more cards from the top of your library to do something. So this is new. Exiling cards from the top of your library, you know, not knowing what they are, to generate some kind of effect. Like Royal Herbalist, I didn't take good notes on this one. Royal Herbalist is the first one that comes to the top of my head.
Huh, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Remove the top card of your library from the game to gain 1 life. For 2 mana on a 1/1 for 1.
Mm-hmm.
Ah! A second art. Is that BDM? Like...
What's that?
Huh.
It is. Good eye.
Weird.
But yeah, and there's several cards like that in the set. I was surprised to see all of them next to each other. Like, wow, that's a lot more than I thought.
And again, that's yet another use for removing things from the game, and we're just up to alliances.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
Wow.
much earlier than I was expecting. Of course, I didn't do research for this, but still.
Like, when you were talking, like, the first thing that popped in my head was, oh, Arc Slogger. But wait, no, that's way later.
Yeah, that took a while.
Okay.
All right. So then we get to Mirage. Part of Mirage was a great big rules update between 4th and 5th edition. They went ahead and rolled out most of the changes for Mirage. And the game does a little more definition about the different zones. It's still missing a couple that we have today, and it seems to have some extras that aren't used anymore. Like reading the section about zones of play in my little rule book that I still have, the rules are specifically describe out of game, out of play and set aside as if they were different zones. That's the way it's written out in the section about zones. And it's just bizarre.
That is neat.
Yeah.
And confusing.
Yeah. The phasing mechanic was described in those rules using the set aside concept. You know, set this card aside. You know, it's not in play. Just forget about it for a minute. But it was kind of treated as if it wasn't a real zone change. It was bizarre because as the rules for it were written and as they stayed for a long time, something phasing out would trigger zone change abilities that looked for something to leave the battlefield or the in-play zone, as it was called at the time. But something phasing back in would not trigger any zone change abilities that looked for things to enter the battlefield.
Hence my Wormfang Manta phasing deck.
Exactly.
Which worked like one time, and I was like, yes! And then I took it apart, because...
That's really all you need for something like that.
Yeah. Congratulations. Next.
And I don't know whether it started here or if it was just something that Wizards had going for a little while some years later. But because of the weird way that their effects were written, like Oubliette specifically said that auras stayed on the creature, and Tanos's Coffin specifically said that auras stayed on the creature, and I'm pretty sure it also said counter stayed on the creature. For a period of time, Oubliette and Tanos's Coffin were errated to use phasing rules to handle how their effects worked.
Note the number and kind of counter. Yeah, the Coffin kept auras and counters, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, for a short period of time, Oubliette and Tanos's Coffin made things phase out.
Man, that's some retconning right there.
Yeah. But Mirage did other stuff. You know, there's graveyard hate and some things that use the graveyard as a resource. It's used as a balancing factor on some reanimation and tutor effects to prevent abuse. Like Shallow Grave is a good example, and Zerlin of the Claw? Is it Zerlin of the Claw or Hivas of the Scale that grabs a dragon from the library?
I think that's Zerlin, isn't it?
Zerlin of the Claw? Yeah, I think that's right.
Search your library for a dragon permanent, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they exile it later just as a balancing factor for the effect.
So, search your library for a... Wait, let's read the printed version because it's funnier. Search your library for a dragon card and put it into play as though it were just summoned. Shuffle your library afterwards. That creature is unaffected by summoning sickness, because haste wasn't a thing yet.
Nope.
Haste wasn't a thing for a very long time, actually.
Very long time.
Remove that creature from the game at end of any turn. Oh, at end of any turn.
This turn, next turn, sometime.
Maybe next game.
So if you needed an emergency blocker, you could use Zerlin to go get it, but you couldn't then swing with it.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of any turn. Even if it's Mike's turn.
Oh, now I'm sad.
But because you went to get a dragon for 3 mana, yeah, of course, you can't just keep it. You only paid 3 mana for it. And Shallow Grave is the same thing. Yeah, you only paid 2 mana for this creature from your graveyard. So of course you only get one swing with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Good help is hard to dig up, isn't it? That's been my experience.
In case anyone's wondering, that's the flavor text on Shallow Grave.
Yeah, this Jars said Kareem's turn. Thank you, Jars.
I think that is a Liliana quote, Witch. Pretty sure she said that.
Something similar at the very least.
All right, so we see more exploration of exiling stuff as a super cost for activated abilities. Like have Cadaverous Bloom, where you're pitching cards to make mana, Bone Mask, where you're taking stuff off the top of your library to prevent damage. This was the first appearance. I hope I'm getting this right. This was the first appearance of an effect like Dismiss, which countered a spell and exiled it instead of putting it into the graveyard.
Not Dismiss.
Not Dismiss?
Not Dismiss is counter draw.
Dissipate? I wrote down the wrong card.
Dissipate. Yeah, that's the one.
All right. Oops.
Counter target spell, remove that spell card from the game. Oh, yes, that's sick. Richard Kane Ferguson art. I recognize this. Yeah.
Because I'm looking at it, Shoku Endbringer.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the first time that, or was there a previous time when a creature had the ability to exile another creature?
You know, I noticed Shaoku, and I couldn't remember whether I had seen another creature that could exile something else on the battlefield, and I didn't go back and do more in-depth searching. But Shaoku might be the first one.
Because
that could just sit there and exile stuff from the battlefield like that.
Because she costs 7,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to just exile something whenever with a tap ability, I could see why she's very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
That's point and click removal at its finest back then, man.
Yeah.
Because again, talking about interesting things you can do with it, that means the creature has the ability to do it, and you get a +1/+1 counter to go with. Now it says vampire, but at that time it just says summon legend.
Mm-hmm.
But she looks kind of vampire-esque.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I went into the theme.
Yeah, she was always concepted as a vampire, but they just didn't use creature types like that in Legends consistently. They didn't put them on the type line. Sometimes they would put it in the text box. Counts as a
vampire, yeah.
Yeah, it counts as a dragon or whatever, but they didn't do that here.
Oh, wait a minute. Does Zerilyn doesn't say that, does he?
No, I think Zerilyn is Viashino.
Oh, he is a Viashino. Oh, he's this guy. Oh, not the dragon. Whoops.
Right.
Huh.
Because everything else I can see in the block just says, oh no, the Griffin. Oh, when he dies, he gets exiled.
Wait, where are you
Never
at?
mind.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking at the block.
Oh, okay.
The Mist Moon Griffin says when it dies, exile it, then return the top card of your graveyard to the battlefield.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's Weatherlight. Hang on,
Yeah, like I said, I just typed in the block. It's easier for me to do it that way.
So, okay, in this set, we've got Cadaverous Bloom, Bone Mask, and then Dissipate as a super counter, and then Shaku as super removal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're paying for it. 3 life a turn, and she's a 7 mana 5/5 that can't attack if there's anything else. But still.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not terribly up on all the cards from the set and everything, but if there was a creature giving you problems, the ability to just say, that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like forever.
Yeah, like you're not getting that card back because
Yeah,
at this point there's nothing that got things from Exile back.
Yeah, this isn't Royal Assassin, man. This is a complete obliteration. Nice. Okay, Mike. What else we got?
The last thing I was going to mention for Mirage was we have more examples of storing cards on other cards with Mangara's Tome and Purgatory.
I remember the Tome. That was cool.
Yeah.
I don't remember Purgatory.
Search your library for 5 cards, exile them in a face-down pile, shuffle that pile. Oh, and you can pay 2 to draw a card from there.
Mm-hmm.
But they're face down, so you know what's there, but you don't know what order they're in. Okay.
Right.
And Purgatory.
Yeah.
Oh,
Purgatory,
yeah.
Exile stuff that dies, and during your upkeep you can pay some mana and life to get something back.
Oh, wow. So that's using it more like the Exile Zone, way more like the Exile Zone that we have now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh. They don't go to the graveyard, they go to purgatory.
Have you been a good little boy?
Wow.
You've only been okay? Okay. Purgatory.
Why don't you hang out in this waiting room for a while?
Huh. I don't think I remember this card at all. That's really
That is
cool.
a trippy card.
Pay 4 and 2 life to at the beginning of your upkeep to get a card exiled with it back. So, huh? In the printed version, they're under purgatory. Okay. I was like, wait, how did this work back then? They're just under purgatory. Okay, they're in purgatory. Got it.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I don't know if I've ever seen this card. That's really cool. Okay.
Okay. Visions has stuff we've seen before, using Exile as a temporary timeout area, and to show Super Death. 5th edition.
Super Death.
Super Death. 5th edition again was an all reprint set. It had noticeably more Exile-related reprints than I had seen in the previous core sets leading up to it. It's still not a whole bunch, but I noticed that there were. It's like, oh, there's a lot more of these on the page here.
Wait, didn't 5th edition have a lot more everything though?
Yeah, it just had a zillion cards in it, so I'm sure that was part of it.
I was like, I wonder if they did that on. No, I don't think they did.
And it was interesting. I also looked in my little 5th edition rule book. It uses the same rule set as Mirage, but doesn't describe the zones of play in the same, like, overly specific, meticulous way that the Mirage rulebook does. Like, removed from game is discussed in the section about zones, but it's described more in, like, the general concept of just putting something over there, you know, more like it was in 4th edition and previous.
Huh.
But it doesn't get into the bizarre, overly specific descriptions that the Mirage rulebook did.
Weird. I wonder why.
I don't know.
Huh, okay. That's cool.
So, Weatherlight was a graveyard set, so nearly all of its Exile stuff is related to using the graveyard as a resource and just graveyard hate. You see a couple more spells and creatures that are meant to be single use and have Super Death, you know, to prevent abuse. And Doomsday is one of the big exile all this stuff cards here. Yep. It's like the trade-off for being able to have any 5 cards you want in any order is that's all you get. That's it. The rest of them, no. Remove them from the game.
And half your life.
Okay, and half your life.
That life is a resource, Dirk.
Yeah.
But at that point, those 5 cards that better win this game for you, because the life doesn't really matter at that point either.
No.
Dirk's like, I got 2 Well-Wishers, 2 Timberwatch Elves, and an Elvis Champion. Get there.
My favorite was to line up 4 Corrupts and another Doomsday.
I remember.
Jesus, Mike.
Doom.
JD Phoenix says, Sapphire, Recall, Lotus, Lab Maniac, Probe. You're a monster.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Wait, isn't that how the like the vintage Doomsday decks win?
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
All right. So what else you got in Weatherlight? Oh yeah, there was the Griffin.
Right, Dirk mentioned the Griffin.
What was it?
When it dies, you exile it and you get something back from your graveyard. So that was another thing where it was a single-use Super Death thing to prevent abuse.
Oh, because it's exiled and you get something back.
Yeah, so you can't loop it.
Oh, okay. God, they were so diligent about stuff like that back then, and now we get the Kirkland Ironworks deck in Modern, which is built around a graveyard loop. I guess back then they were a little more hesitant. I guess back then there weren't tools to deal with stuff like that, like we have now.
Yeah, well, aside from maybe a few things, it doesn't feel like it was just, it just wasn't really well explored. It was, the whole purpose of this is to get it out of the game. And that's the reason in the text it says removed from the game. There's still not an exiled zone yet.
Right.
So
That's not going to be for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that was what this was, is that it wasn't, Exile is just, it's removed from the game.
Mhm.
Wham, bam, done.
Yeah, it's possible at this time. Like I said, I don't know what the comprehensive rules, if they existed at the time, what they would have said. It's possible at this time that the concept of a removed from game zone existed, but I don't know. I don't know whether that was something that existed here or wasn't defined until 6th edition. But I'm pretty certain it finally got defined that way by the time the 6th edition rules update rolled around as the removed from game zone.
That would make sense.
But I go back to when we started playing, and I'm going, was there an exiled zone when we played?
No.
It wasn't called Exile, no, not for a while, not until
But no spoilers. We're getting there. Dirk, you just have to wait like everyone else.
I know.
All right. So, Tempest had some graveyard related stuff, and using Exile as a more serious cost to activate abilities. Tempest was also the first appearance of Lobotomy as a spell, which is, like Jester's Cap, you got to look through your opponent's deck and take stuff out of it. Something I think Pinball would. Oh yeah, it's still visible in the chat window. Oh, and she said it again anyway. Urte's Meddling. The printed text is just kind of does what All Hallows Eve was doing before, and it just makes a spell just hang out there, just sit there for a while, wherever it is that spells sat at that time, while they waited to resolve. But now it's been...
Oh, yeah, because there was no stack yet. Ha!
Yeah, not as a separate zone, no.
So it's just
kind of there.
There, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just kind of hanging, 8 inches above the battlefield.
I was going to say above the table.
Yeah. And later it got retconned to use, suspend-like technology to exile it with those delay counters on it. And then when you take the last one off, it finally gets cast.
Gotta love that suspend technology.
Mm-hmm. It's very useful.
I wonder when they did that. Like, was Urte's Meddling worded that way after Suspend, or did Suspend get its inspiration from Urte's Meddling?
I'm pretty certain Suspend was inspired by it in some way. There's lots of stuff that shows up in Tempest that are hints of other things that the designers and developers started with to put in the set. There was so much stuff that were in the first early drafts of the Tempest set that they kept, they were able to go back to that well for mechanics for years and years. They just designed.
Who was the guy behind Tempest?
Rosewater.
Exactly.
He just designed so many things, and he realized, wait a minute, I can't cram all of these things in the set. That would be horrible. I need to exercise some discipline here.
Word. So what else we got in Tempest? Anything neat?
Storing cards on other cards with cold storage and duplicity. More of that. And there's a really neat example here that I don't think had come up yet about using, remove from game or set aside. It was described as set aside here, but now it's the cards go to exile for a minute. To use it as a place to hold cards temporarily while you're in the middle of doing something else, that it just makes it easier to move stuff around. For Scroll Rack and for Living Death.
Oh, yeah.
For living death, you take all the creatures in your graveyard and set them aside for a second. You take all the creatures in the graveyards and set them aside for a second. And then you sacrifice all the ones that are on the battlefield, and then you put the ones that you set aside onto the battlefield.
Yeah, because you can't say swap your... Like, even in the rules back then, you couldn't say swap your creatures on the battlefield or creatures in play and creatures in graveyard.
Not real. Let me look up Goblin Welder. Goblin Welder was printed a little while later, but I need to. What was it printed with? Welder.
Goblin Walder.
Goblin Walder.
Goblin Walden. It was the Goblin Thoreau.
Right.
Where's Goblin Walden?
What? No. Wait, did Thoreau write Walden, or am I an idiot?
That's Henry David Thoreau. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, they could have tried using the word exchange for living death and scroll rack, but it would have been kind of hell, because they did use that word on Goblin Welder, but you were only doing one card at a time, in and out. And eventually that got changed later to use a bunch of extra words and just tell you to simultaneously sacrifice one thing and return another to the battlefield.
I see.
So they might have thought about using the word exchange for living death and scroll rack, but it would have been just kind of hell to try to physically do it all at the same time, especially with scroll rack, because you're trying to move cards between your hand and the top of your library.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's really easy to screw that up in a way that you're like, oh no. If you're trying to do everything at the same time.
Side note on production here. It's too bad that this episode has a defined title already, or else Goblin Thoreau with Goblin Walden would have to work its way into the title somewhere.
It's a good one.
Right? It's a horrible waste. All right. So...
Guest appearance by...
So let's... This is about the time that I stopped playing Magic. It was right before Tempest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
let's recap. Right now, in the history of Magic, the remove from game is to temporarily hold something.
Mm-hmm.
It's to make a cost more severe. And it's to keep...
It allows using the graveyard as a way to pay costs.
Right. It's also to limit the power on cards. It's a power limiter, you know.
Yeah.
You get one use and you exile it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that... Oh, and it's super death.
Yes.
Is that about... That about sums up what we're using remove from game for at the moment.
Yeah, it does.
I believe so, yes.
Huh, okay. With various Oh, and of course, well, that falls under temporary holding for things like Mangara's Tome and Knowledge Vault and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's either temporary holding for things that are already there, or temporary holding for things that will be there, or things you want later. Okay, right, all right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Or really short term, like Scroll Rack, or really long term, like Urte's Meddling. Okay. All caught up. Nice. Yep. I just wanted to spell that out real quick, since we've been going for a while, and we're hitting on lots of little like variations, but those are the big things.
Those are the big things,
Yeah.
And from here on out, there are going to be a lot of sets where Dimension is just going to be a really quick hit, because there's not many different things going on. Like in Stronghold, you have Super Death and the creatures that are set aside by Portcullis.
Yeah,
the creatures that have to stand around and wait outside the gate.
Sorry, Portcullis is... Corey.
Not on the list, not on the battlefield.
Okay, just to dredge up old memories. For 4 mana, I'm going to read the current wording. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, if there are 2 or more other creatures on the battlefield, exile that creature. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control when Portcullis leaves the battlefield. And yeah, it's kind of a nightmare. In a multiplayer game. It's the worst, because now none of us can play. Pinball Witch threw 10 bits that slipped through the portcullis. Why, thank you. So, yeah. Ugh, okay, keep going.
Yeah.
Don't like
And
it.
Exodus has super death and creatures caught by a wall of nets. Urza Saga has graveyard hate and a few cards that, single use as like anti-infinite recursion balancing factors. Urza Legacy has super death and temporary holding for memory jar. 6th edition is just reprints. And like we were saying before, if the remove from the game zone wasn't clearly concepted as a zone yet before this point, I'm almost certain it was in the 6th edition rules update.
I see.
It has to be officially a zone by now, I'm certain. So Urza's Destiny have the usual one-time use graveyard hate stuff, but this is the first appearance of the spell Flicker and the concept of just making something go away and come back real quick to generate zone change triggers. Flicker was a sorcery, and you remove the creature from the game and then just bring it back, just right now. And it also introduced a cycle inspired by lobotomy, scour, quash, eradicate, sowing salt, splinter. That did lobotomy, except they could hit stuff on the battlefield, and they went after specific types of cards.
Yeah, like Sowing Salt was non-basic lands, Eradicate was a creature. Non-black creature?
I think so.
Yeah, non-black creature.
At this point in the game, yeah, probably.
Splinter was...
Artifact.
Was it just Artifact? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The white one was Enchantment.
It was.
I don't even remember what that one was called.
Scour.
Scour! Okay, yeah. What were we missing? The blue one.
Quash.
What the hell was Quash?
Instants and sorceries.
Oh, you counter an instant or sorcery and go get the rest. Okay. Ah, okay, yeah. So that's like a lobotomy / Jester's Cap for something specific.
Yes.
Okay. Got him. That was the other use. Well, I guess we mentioned that with the Jester's is absolutely gone forever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The absolutely removed from the freaking game zone. Yes.
Is that on an uncard?
It is on an uncard. Yeah.
Okay.
It's on AWOL.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, you put a creature in the removed from game zone, and then you take it out of there, and then you put it into the absolutely removed from the freaking game zone. It might be the absolutely removed from the freaking game forever zone. I don't remember.
Hang on, let's go look. What? AWOL. Okay, exile target attacking creature, then remove it from the game, then put it into the absolutely removed from the freaking game forever zone. Yep. Oh yeah, and in the art, it actually says freaking, yeah. And in the art, you can see the backside of the magic card back where it's been cut out. Oh, that's classic. That was unhinged. Yeah, okay. And then there's the milk carton with "Have you seen me?" and the art on it. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. Okay, sorry.
All right. Mercadian Mask has some of the usual stuff that we've gotten used to seeing. It also has a new cycle of pitch spells, where you can exile a card from your hand instead of paying the mana cost.
Oh, wait a minute. JD Phoenix just pointed something out.
Oh, yeah?
AWOL, the printed version says remove target attacking creature from the game, then remove it from the removed from game zone and put it into the absolutely removed from the freaking game forever zone, right?
Oh,
now it says exile target attacking creature, then remove it from the game. They actually
eroded.
They actually added functionality to it. Now you're moving it.
But it's an uncard.
That makes it even funny.
Yeah, now it's even funnier. Thank you, JD Phoenix. I'm glad you pointed that out.
And Violet is right. The creature did end up hanging out in Urza's hot tub, so he's okay.
Oh, the one in the art?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there he is. Oh, God, he's even... I forgot he'd been... Like, his cutout is pasted there. Because you can still see... like, around him where the cardboard... Where he was actually cut out of the card. Oh my god. Okay, sorry. Enough uncards. Keep going, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So you see the usual stuff. Exile is used as a temporary holding area for Surprise and Bailiff and for Thieves Auction.
Oh.
Hold them there while you do the auction. And then Chiron Archive removes cards from the game instead of storing cards on itself. So Chiron Archive is the first example of these things that doesn't actually store the cards on itself.
Oh. Okay, so had this been printed before, you would have just at the beginning of your upkeep, you may put the top card of your library face down on Chiron Archive or something like that.
Yeah, or under Chiron Archive.
Or an under Chiron Archive, right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now it's using the remove from game zone in the same way as those others, but it's actually using the zone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so it's evolving.
Yeah.
It's adapting. You will be assimilated.
What has science done?
All right, so Nemesis and Prophecy just have basic effects that we've seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have the one where, like Parallax Wave and Parallax Tide, where they are in exile and then they wink back in.
Yep, temporary go away. Mm-hmm. All of Invasion block has stuff that we've seen before. Invasion, Plane Shift, Apocalypse. 7th edition, and I had to check this a couple times thinking I was screwing something up with my search terms.
Really?
Has absolutely no exiled related cards in it.
Really?
Zero. Mm-hmm.
That doesn't... Really?
Yes. This was around the time when they were trying to make the core set more simplified as a beginner's product.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Portal just didn't work the way they wanted it to. So they took a step back and was like, okay, let's make the core set our introductory product now. And there was a lot of things that were taking out of it, like
Trample.
Yeah, Trample didn't appear in 7th edition, and maybe appeared on like just 1 or 2 cards in 8th or something like that. Protection wasn't a thing in 7th.
Yeah.
And
we talked about these things on the History of the Core Set episode. By all means, listeners, if you'd like to know more, go listen to that. It is one of the best, I think, that we've done.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Very in depth.
Yes. But yeah, 7th edition had absolutely zero exile related cards in it.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Odyssey block is a graveyard block, so you get your usual graveyard related stuff in here. Odyssey had Haunting Echoes as kind of a super lobotomy. That's always funny. And then Odyssey also introduced a flashback mechanic. It's similar. It's one of your. It is a graveyard as a resource mechanic, but it's also using exile as a way to get a second use out of a spell instead of limiting it to one use as it's been used before on spells.
What is the freaking spell that Call of the Herd?
Call of the Herd.
I'm trying to find one to pull up here. And there we go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this
Firebolt is also always a good one.
This is the quintessential one back in the day. Was Call of the Herd.
Mm-hmm.
Where getting a 3/3 for 3 and then another 3/3 for 4 without having to spend a card was the pinnacle of aggro technology. Oh, yeah. And I'm not being sarcastic. Like this was the hotness.
That's good stuff.
So yeah, this was combining the graveyard as a resource and the one use power limitation thing. Mm-hmm. All in a one named mechanic.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
God, this is right before I picked up again. It's weird how I experienced most of the innovations before I stopped.
So Torment follows on from Odyssey. It adds the Madness mechanic, and So I don't have a rules insert for this because I never bought any pre-constructed decks from Torment. Right now, the way Madness works is that when you discard the card with Madness, you discard it into Exile and then decide what to do with it from there. I don't know whether Madness originally did something like that, something similar to it. I don't think it did. I just don't remember right now.
Like, the reminder text says, you may play this card for its Madness cost at the time you discard it from your hand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it probably didn't use Exile as part of its function.
Right. Probably not.
Mm-hmm. And then Torment also has a bunch of nightmare creatures that use Exile as a temporary holding area. They steal something temporarily and put it over there.
I remember those.
Oh, like, who's the big one?
Well, Quadus' champion doesn't do that, but
that's
Hypnox.
Faceless Butcher is the standard.
Yeah,
is a good standard example. Hypnox is the big silly example.
Yeah. So we're gonna pull him up. So yeah,
Faceless Butcher your phage seems like a really mean thing to do to someone. Basically, hold their life hostage.
I hate you, by the way.
I know.
Let's pull out the Faceless Butcher. Yeah, so yeah, the nightmare creatures would temporarily get rid of a thing from somewhere and then bring them back later. So they were weird Oblivion Ring style effects.
Mm-hmm.
Or they were all oubliettes, essentially. And then there were the blue ones in the next set, right? Weren't they in Judgment?
I think the Worm Fang stuff was in Judgment.
Yeah. So the black, these were all black, right? In Torment?
Yeah, the Nightmares were black, the Worm Fangs were blue, and the Gorgers in red. They were also in Judgment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so the black ones were all pluses for you. They would snatch something else
from your opponent.
And then once we get to which are you done with Torment?
Yes, I am. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, then like the Wormfang Turtle grabs one of your lands, and when it goes away, you get it back. And I guess the thought of that was they were supposed to be better.
I mean, it was a 2/4 for 3, so
it was more efficient.
Which I guess back then a 2/4 for 3 was pretty good.
Yeah.
Wormfang, like the Wormfang. What's the Newt? It's a 2/2 for 2. This is terrible.
In blue.
Blue didn't get those at the time.
In blue, that's true.
Yeah, that wasn't the thing for blue.
I guess, yeah, and the crab was a 3/6 for 4, and that was unblockable. Yeah, this was the only one that was like, as far as stats and whatnot, but it didn't grab a land. Your opponent chose a permanent of yours, and the crab hit it from you. Like, what? What was the big stupid? The Manta.
Yeah.
It actually exiled your next turn. Yeah. But that one doesn't use exile, so never mind. But again, it's more temporary holding, but they're expanding it to be different than they were originally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Judgment, we also get Anurid Brushhopper, which could flicker itself with its activated ability.
Oh, this thing was pretty big back in the day too.
Yeah, Anurid Brushhopper was like Tarmogoyf level creature during its standard run.
Oh yeah, it wasn't flicker exactly because it didn't come back till the end of turn. Which
that's true.
Have we seen that yet? Before this point? Maybe? Probably.
I don't know.
Yeah, you weren't really looking for that sort of thing.
No, I wasn't paying close enough attention.
Yeah. But in the Brushhopper's case, it just hopped. Because it's a frog beast now. You'll notice. In the type line, it just hops really high. Jumped so high, touched the sky, didn't come back till the end of the turn. Wonder if he's got silver buttons down his back. Wonder how many people are following this joke. Oh yeah, there's also the Gorgers, right? The big one, of course, is the World Gorger Dragon. Thank you, chat. These were the red ones that also grabbed some of your stuff until they came back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or in the World Forger Dragon's case, grabbed all of your stuff.
But now you have a 7/7 dragon. What more would you need?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Judgment had the wish cycle, and again, I don't have the documentation from this period to know for sure, but there was a period of time when the wish cycle could be used to access cards that were in the removed from game zone.
Yes.
I just don't remember whether this was true at the time or came around in a later rules update.
I think it was at the time.
It might have been.
I have no idea.
Yeah, you go get a card from outside the game. What could be more outside the game than the removed from game zone, of course.
Technically,
now
they're
that's
not
not
in the game.
Yeah.
So
That's not how that works anymore.
There's a ruling from 04 on Burning Wish that says can't acquire the anti-cards. They are considered still in the game, as are cards in the library and the graveyard. So you couldn't go grab your anti-card back with a Burning Wish. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, and that's its own zone now, the anti-zone.
In 07, it was ruled that it can't acquire cards that are phased out. I'm guessing they had changed... Wait. I don't remember when phasing...
That's when they changed phased out to a status.
Ah, okay.
Instead of a bizarre zone change. That wasn't really a zone change.
In 09, you can't acquire exiled cards because those cards are still in one of the game's zones. But that's in 09. And it uses the term exiled, so...
That took a while.
I'm guessing that we're gonna... In 09 is where the change happened.
Yeah, because that would have been when Magic 2010 was released.
Ah, okay. And then in a sanctioned event, a card that's outside the game is one that's in your sideboard. In an unsanctioned event, you may choose any card from your collection. That was also from 09. What the hell? So yeah, the wishes were pretty big. And they also had that power limiting factor of exiling themselves. Or at least Burning Wish did. Did they all?
I don't remember. I'm not looking at them. Death Wish.
That's the one I pulled up. Yep, that does too. What's the White Wish?
Glimmer? No.
No.
Golden? No.
Yeah.
Golden.
Yeah, Golden Wish. Yeah, that exiles itself too. Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like because all of these were inspired by Ring of Maruf.
Right,
And
right.
So this is a balancing factor, so you can't just pull in a bunch of cards from outside the game and do dumb stuff.
But outside the game, I wonder... So yeah, I guess just judging from the rulings, at the time you could have grabbed something that was in a removed from game zone.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
It must, yeah. That's the impression I'm getting right now.
Neat.
Okay.
Okay, what else you got from Judgment, Mr. Man? I mean, Professor Beard?
No, that was the last of the notes on Judgment.
Hey, now we come to Onslaught, which is where we all started playing together.
Yeah.
Technically Judgment, but, you know.
Mm-hmm. So, Onslaught block, Onslaught Legion, Scourge just has your standard stuff that we've seen before. No real innovations, or I didn't even note down any notable things here.
Wow. Screw you, Onslaught.
Yeah. 8th edition has Thieves Auction, and that's it.
Huh.
Nothing else. They're still limiting references to Exile in the core set. 1 is more than 0, but it's still 1.
And it's not one anyone's ever going to play ever for any reason. Ever.
Yeah, basically. Mirrodin had your basic stuff. Mirrodin also introduced the imprint mechanic, where the cards get exiled, and then characteristics and other qualities about the card are used to generate the effect of the card that you imprinted it on.
What's the freaking Mox?
Chrome Mox?
Chrome
there
Mox,
we go.
yeah. I love imprint as a mechanic.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, so Chrome Mox is the most famous one, where you exile, or I'm sorry, remove something, and that tells you the colors of mana you can get. What's another one? The Soul something Foundry. Yeah.
Yeah, Soul Foundry.
So these are,
And Gabe would put Stang on a Soul Foundry.
because Gabe is a monster. And yeah, this is, again, it's just like the old Mongar's Tome and Knowledge Vault and all that, except now instead of getting those cards back, it's just using those cards to get information on what these cards do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still the same basic idea.
Yeah.
Just implemented in a new way. Neat. All right.
And then another notable card from Mirrodin is Shared Fate, where you're putting cards into exile to keep to start building up your new hand that you're drawing from other people's decks, because they can't actually go into your hand because they don't belong to you.
Right.
Yeah, this isn't like Hearthstone where you can totally just get cards from another player's hand because they're not physical cards, so it's fine.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is using exile or remove from game as a workaround as a fake hand, essentially.
Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Since the rules don't allow for it otherwise.
But technically, they're still using it as a temporary storage, like Imprint or Mongar's Tome or Knowledge Vault or all that, because they're like back then they would have been face down under Shared Fate.
Yes, basically. Kind of like Duplicity back in Tempest Block.
Yeah, which I looked at that when you mentioned it, and there's a lot of text on that card.
There's a lot of text on
Just
that
a
card.
little bit.
Yeah.
There are many things that card does say.
Nice.
Darksteel had more imprint effects. Darksteel also had Serum Powder,
Oh,
where you're
yeah.
exiling. You get to take
free mulligan.
free, air quotes, free mulligans. But when you do that, you're exiling the cards that you're getting rid of, so they don't go back in your deck, and you won't have access to them during the game after it starts.
Wow. So that would
Yeah.
fall under power limiting, I guess.
Yeah, or a super cost.
Yeah, or well, pretty much both. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I
Yeah.
had forgotten about this card. Neat.
See, in Fifth Dawn, you find kind of the same stuff as in Mirrodin and Darksteel. Champions of Kamigawa has your basic game effects. It adds some more. It has a few more blink effects. Otherworldly Journey is a great example. People love Otherworldly Journey because it's awesome.
It is pretty awesome, yeah. Yeah, that's another of those extended flickers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Betrayers of Kamigawa explored more of those themes. So did Saviors. Saviors reprinted the Scour cycle. Scour, Squash. No, not Squash. Quash.
Quash, yeah.
Yeah.
Squash
Exterminate,
is
Solid,
food.
Splinter. Yes, that's right. Saviors also had the Cycle of Shoals as new pitch spells.
Well, we know which one I'm pulling up.
Yep. Don't even need to look.
Nope.
But I know it's going to be glorious.
Hell yeah, vomiting fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so new pitch spells. Weren't there pitch spells that discarded card? No, I'm thinking spell shapers.
Spell shapers, yeah, had you discard the cards.
Yeah. All the things that we call pitch spells basically exile, right?
They do.
Okay. Yeah, so the Sickening Shoal, of course, is the most meme-worthy, but I think the one that saw the most play, in fact, it ended up being, isn't it? It's still not legal in, it's still not legal in Modern, is Blazing Shoal.
Blazing Shoal was legal in Modern at the very beginning, but then got banned.
Yeah.
Right now, Nourishing Shoal sees play in Modern and Legacy and very silly decks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then Saviors of Kamigawa also had Final Judgment.
Oh my god, that's right!
It did. Mm-hmm. A wrath effect that exiles all the creatures. There were some other effects that exiled more than one creature at a time, like even going back as far as the Dark. But Final Judgment is like the one cleanest version of all of that. And this is the first time something like it had appeared.
Yeah, this was huge as far as like design space. We were all like, "What?"
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. 9th edition. Again, we get one card, one exile-related card, and it's Jester's Cap.
Oh yeah, this is with that weird new art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one. I think I have 4 of these.
Yeah, probably.
All right.
Yep. Ravnica has your basic effects. Guild Pact, like we mentioned in the Graveyard episode, introduces the Haunt mechanic in the Orzhov Guild, where it's kind of like, I guess you could think of it as being similar to Imprint, where after the spell finishes resolving or after the creature dies, they kind of imprint themselves on another creature. They haunt it and sit there in exile until that other creature dies, and they go off again.
Remove it from the game, haunting target creature. Wow, it actually says that. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you get a big, massive super blink effect in Ghostway. All your creatures go away. All your creatures come back. Like, I think, okay, there was actually a card in Onslaught Block that did this that I didn't mention earlier, now that I think about it. It was a cleric with an activated ability.
Crap.
That's the one.
Would it?
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but now it's going to bother me. Rules text, exile. Subtype, cleric. Actually, that might be enough to find it.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, there's a lot.
What up, Magnum Creole?
What am I looking for again?
That cleric that has an activated
Planar
ability.
Guide.
Planar Guide, there you go.
There we go. Yeah, this is the Ghostway on legs.
Mm-hmm.
Before Ghostway.
Yeah. And now that I think about it, False Prophet showed up in Urza's Destiny before Final Judgment, but still, Final Judgment is the most iconic, cleanest version of that.
Oh yeah, hey look, there he is. When False Prophet is put into a graveyard from play, remove all creatures from the game. Yeah, you're right. But still, the fact that it was him. Yeah, right? I never knew about this card until it came out in the first Commander set. But Final Judgment was still huge because it was a wrath that said exile. Like,
Yeah.
no
with False
shenanigans.
Prophet. With False Prophet, you had to go through shenanigans. Yeah, like you said.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Nothing new in Dissension. Cold Snap introduces a new cycle of pitch spells where you have to exile 2 cards from your hand.
What's the dinosaur? It's an elf.
Allosaurus Rider.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, Allosaurus Rider.
I always love Alice.
It's so awesome.
Yeah, I mean this was the promo card, so it's the first one that popped to mind.
Mm-hmm. And Cold Snap also had the recover mechanic, where a spell and there was one creature, Garza's Assassin. After you play it, it goes and sits in your graveyard, and then whenever something dies, it has an ability that triggers where you can either pay some mana or pay some cost, not necessarily mana, pay some cost and return it to your hand, or exile it from your graveyard.
Yeah, whenever anything else of yours dies, because it's your graveyard.
Right.
Yeah, so you had to be aware of that.
Okay. We get into Time Spiral. Time Spiral block, of course, is a mismatch of Magic's entire history. So they reuse all kinds of crazy crap. Time Spiral introduces the suspend mechanic. So again, it's using the idea from Urte's Meddling. It's using Exile as a place to set a spell over here for a while and then cast it at some point in the future. Yeah, it's your present self casting something into the future to help your future self.
I appreciate that, Self.
I knew you'd say that because I said it to me.
Yeah, and this is still before we get the word exile, so we're still removing from the game with time counters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this one was kind of huge because this is where we start seeing them. I mean, they've been doing it for a while, but we start seeing them use it very specifically as a zone where you are getting stuff back. Like, they've been doing that for a long time, but I really think that Suspend is where they went, huh.
It is. Mark Rosewater has mentioned Time Spiral specifically as when he and other people really started to stop and think, why do we still call this the removed from the game zone? Because we do all kinds of in-game stuff with it. And Time Spiral, they even printed Pull from Eternity, which could target a card in the removed from the game zone and put it into someone's graveyard.
Yeah. I remember this one made us all go, holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because this was a new one, right? Like, this has never been done before.
No, Pull from Eternity? No, never.
No, I meant like this effect, right?
Suspend?
No. Pull from Eternity to get something face up that's removed from the game.
Except for something like Oblet that would use its own effect to bring things back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but was there anything that let you go get... Like, I guess Wishes at the time did.
The Wishes, but they were super weird.
Yeah.
And they specifically said they could get stuff from outside of the game, so...
Yeah, but this is removed from the game, like, straight up. This...
Yeah.
Like, the Wishes, you could go to your binder and get that spell. But
Yes.
Pull from Eternity, at least in, casual games, but Pull from Eternity wasn't that. It was very narrow, only the removed from the game zone.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, so Time Spiral is definitely where they started to look at it as its own thing that... And you can tell from the design of the cards, that it's its own thing that is definitely not removed from the game. Cool. What else we have in Time Spiral? Anything?
No.
I mean, I guess Suspend and then the first card ever to directly interact with the remove from the game zone. Yeah, that's probably enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Planar Chaos was another mishmash of Magic's history from an alternate timeline. Future Sight was a mishmash of Magic's history of the future. And it also had Rift Sweeper that chat has been going nuts about.
Yep.
Another card that could interact directly with Remove from Game Zone. And for a while, because the EDH Commander format used the Remove from Game Zone as a holding place for the General or Commander before the concept of the Command Zone was introduced. I know Rift Sweeper was banned for a while. Pull from Eternity probably also was. No, Pull from Eternity went to the graveyard. I know Rift Sweeper was, because it was just a really cheap, obnoxious way to take someone's general and dump it on the bottom of their library, where it was extremely difficult for them to get to it. Again, that was before the concept of the Command Zone.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wait a minute. They're talking about clock spinning. Oh, because clock spinning actually could target suspended cards, which was
That's
also
true.
completely
That's
bizarre.
True. But I mean, it specifically said suspended cards, so
yeah.
You can kind of say, okay, I get what you're doing, whatever. But Pull from Eternity was way more blatant about it.
Yeah, clock spinning was specifically to fool with the suspend mechanic, whereas Pull from Eternity had way more uses than that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Jars says that Rift Sweeper wasn't banned; it was just in every deck. Okay.
Oh, it wasn't. Oh, maybe it should have been. Then is what we were thinking.
I'm sure people complained about it.
Probably.
Pinball, which finally remembered the name of Frenetic Sliver. Yeah, I couldn't remember the name of it either. That's why I didn't say anything.
Oh, right, because the Frenetic...
Frenetic Efreet phases out if you win the coin flip.
Phases out. Oh, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Frenetic... Because at the time of Frenetic Sliver from Planar Chaos, they were still afraid of phasing.
Did they not reuse phasing on any Time Spiral block cards?
Did they?
I don't know if I would be surprised or not surprised. I guess my reaction would be neutral.
I don't know. Hang on.
To hear whatever answer.
Format time. Oh, you can't get Time Spiral block from format anymore? Okay, we'll go Time Spiral.
No, they don't have blocks yet. You'd have to go to the block field.
We'll search for phasing. Search. Nope. 0 phasing.
Okay. That makes sense, I guess.
Okay, wait. What if we kill Time Spiral? There's a block thing? Oh, hey, look at that. Time Spiral block. Search for phasing. Nope.
Okay.
Unless they've reworded things. But I don't think they'd reword that.
Yeah, I'm certain. Yeah.
Okay, so now we see Exile used instead of phasing.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
I'm going to have more quick hits going through here. 10th edition only had 4 cards. They were all rare. Legacy Weapon, Midnight Ritual, Scalp Alexis, Time Stop.
Good old Scalp Alexis.
Yeah. Lorwyn was the first appearance of Oblivion Ring.
Hey, that's a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, not really in the scheme of what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's not the first instance of this effect. You know, like we said earlier, we saw this all the way back on Oubliette. But Oblivion Ring has become the iconic modern version of, okay, this started here, and defined the effect from then on.
Yeah, and look at the number of reprints on this. Good lord. Lorwyn, Shards, Plane Chase Archenemy, a Dual Dex, Commander, M12, another Dual Dex, M13, Modern Masters, 2015. Phew!
Yeah. Lorwyn also introduced the hideaway mechanic. You know, you set the cards aside and fulfill a requirement and get to play it. It also had the champion mechanic.
What the hell was the white hideaway card? The famous one.
Wind Brisk Heights.
Wind Brisk, not Wind Swept. That's the freaking fetch. Oh my god. So yeah,
Close.
Wind Brisk Heights. Hideaway is another, essentially a Mungar's Tomes type effect, yeah.
And it had the champion mechanic, where you get your temporary replacing one creature with a bigger, cooler cousin.
Give me an example. My brain is completely blanked.
Mistbind Click is probably the most famous example.
Oh yeah, that's true. Right.
Yeah. And the rest of the block, Morningtide, Shadowmoor, and Eventide, was more of that and more of the stuff that we're used to seeing in Magic sets.
So the big thing with things like Imprint and Champion and Suspend and whatnot is now, and Flashback, is now named mechanics
Mm-hmm.
are taking advantage of the removed from game zone.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's a trend that we're seeing hide away. That's a trend that we've been seeing for several years now at this point. And I point this out because we're getting very close to the why do we still call it that?
Mm-hmm.
And because it's going to keep piling up, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So in Shards of Alara, the Grixis shard has the Unearth mechanic, which is basically flashback for creatures. Conflux has more of that. Conflux is also the first appearance of Path to Exile.
Which was literally just asked in the chat.
Yeah.
Yep. And now this is the new Swords to Plowshares. This is the definitive Exile a Thing card.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's even called Path to Exile.
Yep. Foreshadowing.
Half-Life 3 confirmed.
Ah!
No, nah.
Oh.
None of that.
And Alara Reborn, the last set in the block, had the Cascade mechanic. You exile all the cards you look at until you hit one that costs the right amount. You cast that one, and then you put the rest on the bottom of your library. So again, it's using Exile as a temporary holding zone while you're busy doing other stuff.
Whoa, like life. Because life is what happens when you're busy doing other things.
That's true. That's true.
Sounds like a fortune cookie.
I don't remember who said that, but...
I know I've heard that somewhere before. So
Yeah, same. All right. Magic 2010.
Aha!
Big rules update. Big changes to the game's vocabulary. And the remove from game zone is finally recognized as being definitely a game zone. So it gets renamed Exile.
Yay!
Yay! And I can finally stop switching back and forth between using the words exile and using the words removed from game and set aside while I'm explaining these things. There are some, and there are, more than just a small handful of cards that reference exile in this set, but but almost all of them are rare. And then Mirror of Fate goes super hard on interacting with the exile zone and demonstrating that, okay, this is not the remove from game zone. We're doing stuff.
Nice.
Zendikar World Wake, have your basic magic stuff.
Oh, I just realized Mirror. I don't know if I ever remember Mirror of Fate, but it's like a new Doomsday.
Yeah, almost. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
I remember seeing it and being like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And then that's about it.
Setup is a lot more difficult.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Choose up to 7 face-up exiled cards you own. Huh?
Zendikar world where you had your basic stuff. Rise of the Eldrazi introduced the rebound mechanic. When you cast a spell from your hand, after it resolves the first time, it goes to exile and waits around, and then casts itself again at the beginning of your next upkeep.
What's an example of that? My brain is
always cool.
Going again.
Stagger Shock.
That's the one.
Card? Yes.
I was like, the burn one. I know that one.
Yeah, that one's easy. Yeah.
Hey, look. Oh, wait, no. Printed version. Or the Rise version. Boom. Exile it as it resolves. Yay!
Let's see. M11 has your basic stuff. Still mostly a rare. Scars of Mirrodin reintroduces Imprint. That's always fun. Mirrodin Besieged does more of the same. Same with New Phyrexia. Karn Liberated uses the Exile Zone in a novel way.
Yes,
His ultimate ability will, carries over cards that he exiled into another restarted game.
Because Karn is horrible. He's like, hey, I'm not the bad guy anymore. I'm the Death Star. Which I don't see how those two things are opposites at all.
Shut up.
That is weird now that I think about it in terms of this show. He restarts the game, but you keep all it. That's really trippy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then.
Yeah. M12 had some stuff at rare. Innistrad and the rest of the block was, of course, graveyard related, so you have all that good stuff. Innistrad reintroduced Flashback, and one interesting card is Runic Repetition. You can get a card with Flashback from exile back to your hand.
Oh, wow. That's
used twice more. Mm-hmm.
That's super narrow.
Mm-hmm.
I bet that was pretty neat in limited when you use this card in limited. I bet it was killer.
Oh yeah,
and every other time it was completely worthless.
Yeah, Dark Ascension and Avacyn Restored had your basic stuff. Avacyn Restored had Mist Hollow Griffin as well. Mist Hollow Griffin could be cast from exile.
Yeah, this is the first time we saw this, which I think we've only seen it once or twice since.
Yeah, just a couple times at most. Yeah, Pinball Witch mentioned Avacyn Restored had some more. Cloud Shift is what you're thinking of. Pinball Witch. Yeah, where it entered the battlefield, it re-entered the battlefield under your control, so it was possible to use a temporary gimme that effect, and then keep it permanently.
Exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was that and a couple of the cards. I don't remember right now.
Yeah.
M13 has your standard stuff. You start to see some cards at common that reference exile.
Ooh.
But they're very simple. Return to Ravnica had the Scavenge ability and other graveyard as resource related effects in the Golgari Guild. For Scavenge, you could pay a cost and exile a creature card from your graveyard to put +1/+1 counters on stuff. Gatecrash had the Cipher mechanic in the Dimir Guild, which is basically an imprint haunt type thing for spells.
Oh god, what was that card?
Dang it.
You know the one I mean, right?
The Hunter?
The really bad one?
I just mean the only card with Cipher that ever mattered.
On the untapped stuff?
Maybe?
I don't really remember any of them mattering. So
Hang on, hang on.
Yeah.
it was a neat idea, but
Whispering Madness. Maybe that one didn't matter. Maybe I just really liked it.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
Because I'm looking
fun.
at all of these names and none of them are jumping out at me. But yeah, Whispering Madness. We'll just click on that. Right. So you would exile it after you cast it. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, you cast it, then you exile it.
Mm-hmm. And you encode it on something. I think that's what the word was.
So it's still a temporary storage thing. But it's
it's
like
more
you
like
said,
imprint
the
than
imprint
haunt
thing,
because you can keep using it over and over again.
Yeah. But it goes on a creature, so it's kind of like haunt. Yeah. Very strange. Still using like it's all of the things that we already know, it's just using them in more different ways. And it's named. But now that it's its own zone that is part of the game, this makes a lot more sense. And you said in the most recent core set before this, there was stuff at common that mentioned Exile.
Yes. Which hadn't been the case in a while for core sets.
Yeah.
Several years. M14 though, okay, so Dragon's Maze just adds more of the same stuff you saw in Return Around and Gate Crash. M14, its exile related stuff is mostly on rares, but it also has the first appearance of Banisher Priest at uncommon. And Banisher Priest has that effect, exile such and such until this leaves the battlefield. It's not like Oblivion Ring, where it's two separate triggers and you can do shenanigans. It's a zone change with a duration. This was new tech, and they started using this quite a lot after that point.
Yeah, and that's how it is now.
Yeah, that's basically how it is now. They only use something like Oblivion Ring, if in very rare cases nowadays.
Yeah, because Oblivion Ring, if you knew how triggers worked and whatnot, you could completely get rid of something forever, which is really feels bad when that happens to you for the first time.
Yeah.
And so they worked for a while to come up with another way to do it, and the until this leaves the battlefield was how they came up with, and they're still using it. So, yeah, good catch.
Yep. So Theros block has your basic stuff, and for some reason I didn't put it in my notes, but I know that in one of these sets, I think it was Born of the Gods, that's when Banishing Light first appeared. So the Banisher Priest effect on an enchantment. And also Chained to the Rocks was in Theros.
Yeah, Banishing Light was in Journey.
Okay.
So yeah, this is the Banisher Priest O-Ring. Or Banishing Priest style Oblivion Ring. Yeah. Which we just... When did we get this back? Oh, it was in Commander 2015. Okay, never mind. I'm thinking of the next version. And then, yeah, Chained to the Rocks is more of that, but way more flavorful and nifty.
Right.
Such a great card.
M15 had the Cycle of Souls, Soul of Zendikar, Soul of Theros, blah, blah, blah. Had activated abilities on the battlefield, and they had one more. While they were in the graveyard, you could exile them to do stuff. References to exile spill more onto uncommon and common cards in M15 than they did before. And Warden of the Beyond, people were mentioning this in chat earlier, and what was just brought it up again, was a real weirdo. He gets a bonus for cards your opponent owns that are in exile.
Yep.
Whether because you put them there or they put them there.
Gets +2/+2 as long as an opponent owns a card in exile. I have no memory of this card. That's trippy as hell. Oh, designed by Isaiah Cartwright. This is one of the
like guest design.
Yeah.
I forgot that it was one of the guest designer cards.
Like
Wow.
the watch and stuff.
Isaiah. Who is Isaiah Cartwright? Guild Wars. Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Neat. Okay.
Yep. Khan's block is pretty basic. You see the usual magic stuff. Khans of Tarkir itself reintroduced the delve mechanic that we saw in Future Sight. It's a graveyard as a resource mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Dragons of Tarkir reintroduced the rebound mechanic from Rise of the Eldrazi.
It
Otherwise,
did?
nothing. Yeah, rebound showed up in. It was the Ojutai clans mechanic in the Dragon Future.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I remember now. That's all you had to say, and it clicked. Nice.
So Magic Origins, references to Exile are mostly limited to rare and mythic here, like they are in other core sets. And the transforming planeswalkers,
Yep.
cycle of transforming planeswalkers, they use Exile, going to Exile and then coming back to help themselves work properly.
What the hell is the front side of Flippy Jace called?
Jace Vryn's Prodigy.
There it is. Yeah, because they couldn't transform directly, or else they wouldn't have loyalty counters.
Yeah, a planeswalker gets its loyalty counters as it enters the battlefield. So if they just transformed on the battlefield without moving anywhere, they would just go and die, unless there was even more text on the front side telling you to put some loyalty counters on them.
Yeah, so rather than do that, they just they sleight of handed it by making them jump into Exile and come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also flavorfully evokes the fact that this represents their Planeswalker Spark Awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And they vanish and travel somewhere else and then return just as mysteriously.
Oh, that is a nice touch, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mind me. Go to another plane of existence now. Wait, what?
Excuse me? Okay. So this is one of those times where we see the Exile Zone being used as a workaround for the rules.
Right.
Huh.
Which we have seen from time to time, but yeah.
Pretty neat. Yeah, it's the same principle, weirdly enough, as Scroll Rack and Living Death.
Yeah.
Right.
Where the rules don't let you just do stuff whenever the hell you want to, so you have to bounce it into Exile and come back, and now it works.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I had not thought of that.
Yeah.
All right.
So Battle for Zendikar is the first and only time where I would say we see Exile in the Exile Zone as any kind of major theme or sub-theme.
Because of the processors.
Right, the processors.
Yeah.
The ingest mechanic, which exiles cards from the top of your opponent's library. The processor mechanic, which takes cards owned by your opponent in exile and dumps them back into their graveyard, and then just a bunch of other Eldrazi based and Eldrazi themed removal that exiles cards.
Okay, hang on. I'm pulling up. I'm pulling up stuff here. Okay, like here's a processor. The Ruin processor. You may put a card an opponent owns from exile into that player's graveyard. That's what the processor mechanic did, right?
Right.
Like across the board. It was that.
Yep.
I say across the board. There weren't that many, were there? Like the
There were
word
a couple,
processor only came
but-
up on 2.
It should be on the type line. Were you searching on the type line?
Oh no, I just searched the name because I remembered Ruin Processor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there were more than 2. So yeah, that's actually Exile, and then Ingest. Yeah, 8 cards from the top of library. Right. Okay. Yeah, because the Eldrazi come from Exile.
Mm-hmm.
Like they, flavorfully speaking, they're not entirely from a normal plane of existence. Exactly.
Right. They're the only creatures known to actually exist in the what do we call the void?
The blind eternities.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's been some chat in the chat. So the reason I didn't mention Delve back in Future Sight and why I didn't go into it in detail in Cons block was that I didn't just want to spend a lot of time going over the details of every single set that used some kind of graveyard as a resource mechanic, as an example of using Exile.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't touch on Delve in more detail. And for Suspend being a major mechanical use of the Exile Zone in Time Spiral block, I agree. It was very important, and it was a big part of what made the mechanic work. The reason that I'm saying that how it was used in Battle for Zendikar, the reason why I'm saying I think that's the first time it was ever a theme, is because of the way it was used specifically for the Eldrazi to set them apart from normal Magic cards and to set them apart from the Zendikari as being strange and alien and otherworldly. There was a much heavier use of Exile this, Exile that on their cards to set them apart thematically. But
yes, so in Time Spirals,
but the way it was used in Time Spiral for Suspend was really just mechanical.
Yeah, in Time Spiral, Suspend was a major theme, but Exile was not.
Right.
And in was that the only like actual question about that? Yeah, but in this specifically, things going to and coming back from the Exile Zone was a massive thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
It's a good question worth talking about.
Yeah. This is why we do this live now, so we can get stuff like that. So you're not just yelling at your iPod later going, but what about, well, now we can answer it straight up.
Yeah, Oath of the Gatewatch had some more Eldrazi-based, Eldrazi-themed Exile removal, but it didn't have any of the ingest or processor stuff. And that's because Battle for Zendikar was Ulamog focused, but Oath of the Gatewatch was Kozilek focused.
Yeah, and Kozilek was more about colorless than Exile.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Glad to know you're still yelling cranberries.
Oh, there's no doubt. But now we can hear you.
Yes.
Sort of. As long as you type it out. What was the common black exile removal spell?
I mean, it cost 2 and a black, and it had Devoid, and it exiled something with power 3 or less, but I don't remember what it was called.
Wasn't there a common white one that cost like 5 that just exiled something? 5 or 6?
There's been some of those.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Yeah.
Oh, 3B with Devoid that exiles anything. Yeah, that was an Oath of the Gatewatch, wasn't it? It was an instant. What was it? Oh, well.
I don't know. You keep talking, I'll look it up.
Yeah. Anyway. Shadows over Innistrad, more graveyard stuff. This was when the Madness mechanic was reworked to use Exile as part of how it functioned. Nothing fancy there.
Right.
Eldritch Moon had the Meld mechanic, which basically used the Magic Origins Planeswalker tech to stick the two
Mike,
cards together. Yes.
You were thinking of Complete Disregard.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There are a lot. I'm not finding the normal one yet. That just exiles a thing. Did that have Devoid?
I thought it did. It should have.
Oblivion Strike. There it is.
Was that a sorcery or an instant?
It is a sorcery.
Okay, I misremembered it then.
Okay. Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. The mailed mechanic in Eldritch Moon used the Origins Planeswalker tech to send stuff to Exile so they could be stuck together as on their way back to the battlefield.
Right.
Coax from the Blind Eternities could get Eldrazi from either Exile or from outside of the game. So that's cool. And Eternal Scourge is another creature that can be cast from Exile.
Eternal Scourge. Yeah, the 3/3 for 3.
Yeah.
Oh, and it also exiled itself when it got targeted. Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty hard to deal with.
That's like the Skulking Ghost or whatever, except exile. Good lord.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about that part of it.
Yeah. Pinball Witch brought up something that I missed. Sponsor of Ulamog. Well, I guess I missed it because I was just looking at Exile stuff. Sponsor of Ulamog could get stuff from outside of the game. But it couldn't get stuff from Exile, which is why it didn't show up in my search. And that was back in Rise of the Eldrazi. But anyway, the rest of these things up until the present day are pretty quick hits. Kaladesh and Aether Revolt didn't do anything special. And just to skip ahead a little bit, neither did Ixalan or Rivals of Ixalan. Amonkhet was a graveyard set, so you have that stuff. So was Hour of Devastation. Amonkhet had Embalm and Aftermath. Basically variants of, flashback for spells and creatures. And in Hour of Devastation, Embalm was replaced with Eternalize. That's another variant of it.
Right.
In Dominaria, you had your basic effects, and you have another creature that can be cast from Exile, Squee the Immortal.
Squee, there he is. Yay! Good old Squee. That's why he's on Monday Night Magic, because we can't get rid of his ass.
All right. That brings us to the present day. I know we didn't go through any supplemental products, but then we'd be sitting here for like another
4
hour and a half.
For another
hour. And I'm already inwardly pissed off at how much time I've spent here, sitting here talking already. So I'm done.
Great.
Pinball Witch mentioned Ixalan's Binding.
It's another O-ring type effect.
Yeah, it's like an O-ring meddling mage combo.
Yeah.
Changed what rules? Oh, because of the interaction with Squee. Oh my god, shut up. People still on about that? All right.
Cool.
So that brings us to now.
I like now.
Now's pretty good. Now's where I live.
All right. Yeah.
Now it's pretty late.
So, wow, it amazes me how the vast majority of things that Exile can do came really early in Magic.
When it really doesn't feel like that would be the case at all. I think I'm misled by the fact that we didn't actually give it the name Exile until much more recently in our history.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the groundwork was there.
But yeah, any innovation that we've seen in the last, I don't know, it's like since the podcast started, has just been essentially just little fiddly stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, take off. We've got like the ability to cast things from Exile has come up, in recent times. And everything else you can, for the most part, everything else you can trace back to the first 5 to 10 years of Magic, which is amazing to me. Huh. All right, then.
They've done all the hard stuff. Now they can just make new cards.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, way to go, R&D. Get there. Well, thank you, Professor Beard, for that long and detailed look into the history of Exile, the history and evolution of the removed from game, well, of removing from game, then the removed from game zone,
And
then
setting aside.
setting aside,
And considering out of play
and hovering 8 inches off of the table. Oh yeah, Pinball Witch points out that caring about things that are exiled, the warden, what was he called?
Warden of the Beyond.
Yeah, and the processors, they're really the biggest. Yeah, that and the ability to cast things from exile are the really big ones that of recent memory.
Yeah. Jars also mentioned something that we didn't touch on as it was happening about the remove from game zone being spun off into a bunch of different things because it was getting overloaded and they just needed it to do other things like exile, the phased out. There was kind of a phase land zone for a while that then just turned into a status.
Yeah.
The anti zone, the command zone.
Oh yeah, the command zone was a big deal because originally, like we said when we were talking about Rift Sweeper, like all green decks ran it because you could just grab your opponent's commander and shuffle it in or tuck it into its deck and ha. But at some point, I don't remember when as far as this conversation goes, but they turned it into the command zone as its own thing, and now we're using that for other things like emblems.
Yes, emblems.
And I think experience counters, do those go there? Like counters?
No, experience counters are on you.
Oh, they're just on the player, right.
But schemes and planes also exist in the command zone.
Right. And yeah, all of that used to be removed from game. That is a good point. We didn't even mention that. Thank you, Jars. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay then. So how about we wrap this up because Dirk's about to pass out if he hasn't already. Dirk, you awake?
Yeah, I'm here.
Did you learn something today?
I did.
Okay, cool.
I learned that Mike talked too damn much.
Conspiracies go in the command zone too. That was the thing I couldn't remember. I'm like, there's another thing, but I don't want to stall.
Oh yeah.
Thank you again, Jars.
Did Mike mention with Cold Snap or what was it, the not Cold Snap, but where you put stuff that has the time counter that it comes into play after the diminishing counters?
Yes, suspend.
Okay.
We did go over that, yes.
Okay. I can't remember what the term was. My brain is mush today. It's a good thing I didn't have to do this.
That'd be Professor. Well, you've got a beard too.
My name is Professor Mud, because that's what my mind is.
All right, well, Professor Mud, you want to give us some final thoughts and go to bed?
For my final thought, I actually did get last weekend the chance to get some good World of Warcraft time in, and there were two things that came to mind. Number one, Mike, you would actually really love one area on the human campaign because, or the Alliance campaign because this thing is Dustfall. It is very Diablo-esque,
Nice.
as in their trees, their little, it's incredibly creepy, enough that you start an order called the Ember, Order of the Ember, I think is what it's called, and they essentially are like demon hunters. They go out and their whole goal is to fight the Drusk, which are the bad guys. They essentially are the equivalent of the demons from Diablo.
That's cool.
And Chewie would kind of like one because in another area, they're essentially people who get turned into squid-faced people, like Cthulhu-esque people. So it almost feels kind of like what's his face, the author, Lovecraftian.
Lovecraft.
There's even a area where you're supposed to cleanse a place of madness, and if you don't do it in a certain amount of time, then you essentially die from madness.
Nice.
And so yeah, there's this. I'm playing this and going, oh my gosh, the only person who gets kind of left out in this is Brian, and just some of the absolute crazy shenanigans you have to do in this one is just like, well, I guess that will have to just tide over Brian then. But it was just funny getting a chance to play me like, oh gosh, Mike would love this place. And it was like, oh gosh, Chewy would probably love this place because it's so Lovecraftian and everything. So it reminded me a lot of you guys.
I don't know how I feel about that.
It would be an area that I would think you would appreciate, is the thing.
Fair enough.
All right, and I actually do have to go at this point, so I might end up messing up the screen and everything, but I literally need to go to bed.
All right, night, Zerg.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hey, you think Dirk remembers to show up at your place between 9 and 10 on Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a strong chance of that, yes.
Okay. Oh man, that means you know the only thing I hate about getting together to play and record?
What's
is
that?
I have to cart all this crap to your place. I have to take the microphone down and unwind the cable around everything and put it in its box and make sure they get all the screws and things and all of this. How bad would it be if we played and didn't record?
It wouldn't be terrible, but it would. I think it was gonna give us something to talk about next week when Mike couldn't be here.
Oh, we were gonna do the commander decks, weren't we?
That's
Okay, yeah, I'll do it for that. So how about you, Brian?
So for Brian, haven't played a whole lot because of stuff because I just came back from Vegas. I did not gamble, but my sister just had the baby, as I think I mentioned a while ago, and we got out there and it was awesome. But I will say that I have dabbled a little bit in Arena, and it looks like they have fixed some things. But something I really don't care for a whole lot is the way the drafting works, because you just I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to emulate Hearthstone with the Arena, and you just kind of go in and do it whenever you want, and that's fine, but you don't actually draft against anyone else. And for me, that's a problem because there's a lot of synergy in thinking about what are other players taking, and here you're drafting against the computer, and the computer sometimes makes no gosh darn sense with its picks, and it's impossible to signal at all. So, and then you play against other people that have similarly drafted in these very closed environments, and there's always a chance when you draft somebody else is going to get better rares and things than you, but it feels almost heightened here because you're like, I didn't even see most of these cards because they weren't in my pool at all. It's like you sit down with 8 people to draft, and then when everybody's done, you then get matched against somebody else from another pot of 8 people, and you're like, this feels really weird. So I don't know.
Well, they're doing it that way right now because it's beta. Like they have said that eventually actual draft pods will be a thing.
Good. So, but that's about all I got. And
one mispronunciation. Okay, sorry.
I am also tired.
And you're also a massive robot.
Am I?
Oh, there you're back.
Just now? Okay. And I was saying I was going to stay up and try some Hearthstone because I haven't played Hearthstone in like a week. But no, I don't. I'm heading out. Come and have a great night. And I will see you all in a couple days.
Yay.
Yay.
All right. See you then.
All right, then. Mike?
All right. Man, I don't really have anything else to say. I don't know if I have it in me to say much else. I'm surprised that the discussion took as long as it did. I guess because I didn't account for all of the asides and side conversations we would end up on talking about certain things.
Yeah. Which you I mean, after 10 years, you should know that's totally going to be a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I knew the graveyard episode took a while, but I didn't think there wouldn't be as much detailed stuff to dig into for this topic. But it was so weird and unusual.
Did someone just rejoin the call?
Yeah, I think Brian rejoined the call. I don't know what's going on over there.
Oh, okay. Oh, and he's gone again. All right, that's weird.
But yeah, so I got a set of Commander decks from Lucky's. I went there after work last Friday. He gave me a little discount because I was getting all of them together because he's cool like that.
Nice.
And yeah, so they'll be shuffled up and ready to go.
Sweet. Cool. Well, I will keep it relatively short then, because this has been an extremely long episode now that I'm looking at the recording time.
Yeah,
Good Lord. Over on YouTube, I've got all kinds of stuff going up. DuckTales Remastered. I played through most of that. Freaking The Stanley Parable is going up. I love that so much. The Hearthstone Boomsday Project Puzzle Lab will be going up soon. And what's the other thing? There's another thing. Oh, XCOM. I'm still chopping up and making highlights from each hour of the big ass XCOM stream. And the next one to go up is when we started naming the squad. Like the first two were me getting used to the game with mouse and keyboard and getting a feel for everything again. And then in the third one we started naming the squad after viewers and the Overwatch crew. Like Bill is our heavy because Bill is our tank, and Haley is our support because Haley's a healer, and Steph is an assault because Steph is the one who will run up in someone's face and shoot them. Mm-hmm. And I'm a support because when I play support in Overwatch, it's because I got stuck playing support, and that's what happened. I named myself when I was a rookie, and then I ranked up, and oh goody, I'm a freaking support. So hey, it all works out. We have our first mech trooper. We got a new recruit. We named it after Wolfie Harvell, and then suddenly we lopped his arms and legs off, and now he's a mech trooper. Sick. So in the next video after that, we'll get to see how he works, because it's the first time I'd ever played Enemy Within, which is where they introduced mech troopers and whatnot. So I got to make him, but I haven't gotten to play with him yet as far as the videos go. So these are all things that are going up on the YouTube channel. Whenever I get another like Hearthstone video, a Puzzle Labs video, that'll be going up as the second video in that day. So rather than do it, because if I do this one per day, I won't run out of new videos for like 2 weeks. But I'll also get way far behind. So Hearthstone videos will go up with something else whenever they go up. So that's pretty sweet. So hey, double the content. And that's on youtube.com/themanapool. Over on Twitch, hey, you could watch the Manapool live. You can watch Monday Night Magic live. You could watch me play all these games live. And also other stuff that I have hiccups. Other stuff that I don't turn into YouTube videos. Like Arkham City. There we go. That's the most recent one. Mm-hmm. And probably other stuff that's not coming to me because my brain is also mush at the moment. So then I will say, of course, all of the places to find us are down. What was that? And Pinball Witch threw 10 bits, but I can't read that for watching live. Oh, nice. Thank you. Yeah, all the ways to contact us are down in the description. Twitter, Facebook, And the Discord server, the link to that, you should totally go join the Discord server. We haven't cracked 100 people just yet, so get on that, you guys. And yeah, with that, that'll be it. So if you want to help support what I do with this ridiculous amount of content that I do, then the most direct way to do that is on patreon.com/themanapool, where you can get Manapool episodes and YouTube videos early. Sometimes 4 or 5 days early, depending on how far ahead of the publishing schedule I am for YouTube videos. You can get the odds and ends, all the stuff recorded before and after both Monday Night Magic and the Manapool that are uncensored and unfiltered. And generally unsafe for consumption. And, of course, you can become a lifeguard and get the shout-out on both podcasts and on the end slate for all the YouTube videos. So, thank you to Kim Ho, Andrew Hunt, Al, Paul David, Lance Delicious, Team U, Hell as Are You, Connor Kennedy, John Morris, Stuart Slaw, PJ McMullen, Bosco Brittain, Casey, Nathan Hay, Danny Liao, Jason Doan, Cody Buckawing, Jake Jansons, Jason Kaus. Ooh, excuse me, my headset cable was getting fresh with me. Brian DeLucci, Stark Maximum, John Parker, Jimmy Scott, Dan Holm, Bartle, Mike Millerburn, and the Beast Father, Aaron Goodwine. Thank you all so very much for your support, of course, and everyone who is a Patreon supporter, no matter what tier you're on. And with that, we will be done with this marathon episode. So, this has been Professor Beard Teaches Exile. Thank you all so very much for listening, and a big shout out to Mike for doing all this research. Appreciate it, buddy.
Welcome.
But yeah, thank you all so very much for listening, and go play some Magic.